In South Korea, life is tough for women. Discrimination and abuse are daily realities.
Korean women is especially considered as second citizen.
In 2018, radical feminist movement 4B emerged in response to societal misogyny. Some of its supporters don't wish to show their faces. What does 4B, the four no's, stand for?
No sex, no dating, no marriage, no childbirth.
It is written like sex strike, but it is not 100% about it. So 4B thing is very Korean, feministic lifestyle, and it is irreversible. We cannot be taken back again.
Why have some women come to see the 4B movement as their sole option? In Seoul, Min-young Lee, a simultaneous interpreter and foreign language tutor, lives in a shared apartment with other women. Together, they create a communal workspace, supporting one another professionally and personally.
We're together often. Sometimes we see each other daily. All of us here are language teachers. We'll work together, chat, have a snack.
Today, Min-young is a devoted feminist, but it hasn't always been like this.
I was very shy and I was very afraid of misogyny. And inside of me, there was a kind of fire that I need to do something to contribute to this society as a woman. But I was so scared of my future that is unknown.
Min-young's story is not unique. In 2016, a brutal murder in Seoul shocked the nation. A young woman was killed by a stranger near Gangnam Station's Exit 10, a case that sparked outrage and opened a wider conversation on misogyny. The killer was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but the act wasn't viewed as a misogynistic hate crime, just as an isolated case. The country reacted with outrage.
I was hurt by this. There was a transition of a simple incident turning into a historical point. We were ready to speak out about what we felt and what we want.
South Korea is considered deeply patriarchal. Men hold more power and influence. Women endure not only domestic violence and workplace discrimination, but also face a staggering gender pay gap and the pressures of balancing work and family responsibilities. South Korea's rates of sexual harassment, cyberbullying, and violent assault are shockingly high, frequently surpassing the global average, a grim reflection of the country's gender inequality. There's heavy pressure to marry and have children, but little government support. Women are underrepresented in parliament. Non-consensual webcam videos are often circulated online and monetized around the globe. Professor Hong Jae Lee researches feminist philosophy at the University of Seoul. A sought-after expert in the field, she speaks at feminist demonstrations. Email threats and disruptions of her lectures by male students are part of her daily life.
Previously, Korean women weren't aware of the derogatory language men used about them. Now, thanks to the internet, it's all out there. Women today are also better educated, have a deeper understanding of equality. We're seeing a generation that chooses to resist.
2018 marked the beginning of the 4B movement, which began with an anonymous Twitter post.
We settled 4 principles, which is not doing 4 things: sex, dates, marriage, and making babies. In Korea, this context is very, very overrepresented in women's life. So that's why we wanted to get rid of these 4 things to find a breakthrough.
That was enough to kick off a revolution. Where has South Korea's rigid fixation on gender roles come from? Up until 2008, the Hoju system designated men as the legal head and sole authority of the family. This rigid system of gender roles entrenched male dominance, a structure that continues to influence many aspects of South Korean society today. Min Young and her community head to a gym, Seoul's first strength training studio exclusively for women. The gym's discreet signage reflects the challenges women still face in a society where even physical empowerment can be controversial.
The purpose of workout is to raise up their self-esteem.
Before the feminist movement, I never exercised. I thought I should have been a pretty woman, not a healthy woman.
And what is she aiming for now?
Not being wife anymore or girlfriend for other men anymore. Just be myself and with other women.
Most men were unwilling to talk with us about feminism. Many were hearing about 4B for the first time.
Why is that need to exist for a woman, only woman?
I don't think it's good to reject things in such an extreme way.
Many young men express feeling disadvantaged compared to women, frustrated by the mandatory military service they must endure, concerned over what they perceive as diminishing opportunities for men in top universities. While the number of women-only universities is increasing, women still have the freedom to apply to any institution.
신자유주의 경쟁의 특징은 뭐냐면 경쟁에서 졌을 때 국가나 사회나
What's unique about neoliberal competition is that the state, society, and even your immediate surroundings offer no safety net.
모든 것이 오롯이 개인의 책임에게 맡겨진다는 거거든요.
You're entirely on your own.
피해 의식이 굉장히 이제 많이
These young men who are feeling oppressed or victimized are highly insecure and afraid of women's progress.
봤을 때 이 불안한 공포들이 몰려올 거 아니에요. 불안함들이.
Studies have shown they express those feelings as contempt toward women.
수사시키고 해소시키려고 하는 것들이 여성 혐오로 이어졌다라는 분석이 일단은 하나 있어요.
A case at Seoul Women's University made it clear that misogyny doesn't stop at the doors of educational institutions. A professor allegedly sexually harassed a student. It was only after months of protest that he resigned. This feminist student union spokesperson didn't want to be identified, for fear of the consequences.
It's disappointing that the university didn't take the right steps on its own. If something like that were to happen again in the future, it would become even harder to discuss and address sexual harassment openly.
No space for sex offenders at Seoul Women's University. Female students made their outrage public with posters like this one. The professor who was under suspicion showed no remorse, even threatening legal action. Throughout it all, the university remained silent. No wonder then that 4B finds support here.
After discovering 4B and seeing how women were living it out, my whole worldview shifted. I realized I can reject things I don't like and break away from societal expectations. I can decide for myself how I want to live.
Emancipation in South Korea isn't entirely new, however. This is Yosong Kukuk, a form of theatre that's around 100 years old. It's performed solely by women, playing both the female and male roles. Artist and anthropologist Siren Eun-yong Chong has studied this cultural phenomenon for many years and reinterprets it in her own stage productions.
From the very beginning, women organized themselves independently and secured their own livelihoods. That alone was a feminist act in their time.
Siren often works with queer artists. In its early days in South Korea, feminism and the LGBTQ+ scene shared close ties. Now, Siren takes a critical view of 4B.
Supporters of the 4B movement are extreme. They strictly adhere to the 4 bans: no sex, no dating, no marriage, and no children, and focus intensely on self-optimization. They save every penny, invest in stocks, and indulge only in luxury. But if their aim is simply to accumulate wealth and status through hypercapitalism, I'd say they're missing the point. It's not enough to just focus on individual success. They're only scratching the surface of what true political change requires.
4B is a small, uncompromising group, controversial even within South Korea. Yet the broader feminist movement is gaining traction in society, says Professor Lee.
Even women who don't openly call themselves feminists are now partly living by the principles of the 4B movement. There are quite a few of them, too, which South Korea's extremely low birth rate reflects.
It reached the lowest level in the world in 2023, 0.72 children per woman, well below the 2.1 needed to maintain a stable population. Back with Mingyong, she and her colleagues are on their way to a language class. Their method is intuitive and female-driven, women helping other women learn as many languages as possible, as quickly as possible. Sharing knowledge, wit, and strong solidarity as a group. Weapons for the future.
I don't think that this world will be changed, but there are women who are changing very fast every day, day by day. So that is the hope that I see every day.
Sexual offences and deepfake pornography are on the rise in South Korea. Gender equality remains a long way off, but change is beginning to take root.